You may come to Spike Week all year round for best ball takes. That's not going anywhere. But in season, we're still drafting. It's the first episode of the Spike Week Battle Royale show. Battle Royale and snake drafts. We're going to draft on Underdog. We're going to draft on Drafters. We'll see. Anywhere that has drafts, that's what we're going to do. In season, NFL Week 2 Battle Royale, Episode 1. Let's have some fun. All right, guys. Episode 1, Battle Royale. Had to bring in, of course, my two Battle Royale. That's hard to say. That's tougher to say than you think of this. Say that's 5 times fast. And my MLB experts that pushed me to somehow even drafting some decent MLB teams. Shane and Nez are here. They've been obviously grinding MLB. They're doing shows for Battle Royale stuff. So figured let's hop into it. Did you guys have any success last week in week 1 in any of the Battle Royale streets?
I came out positive in the big contest, but overall overarching came out with a slight negative. But Shane had some pretty sweet sweats and came out with some nice cashes.
Yeah, I had one in the Hail Mary too. So that was the single entry 25, the second one, which was a smaller contest. That I commented on the stream last night that Jamar Chase non-review. It was ironic that I was sweating Justin Jefferson not to go off anymore. I'm just sitting there. I'm like, please, can we not? As all these Jefferson teams, and I'm just sitting there with Chase, and I lost by like 4 or like 3.9 points. So yeah, that would have secured me the from 750 to 5K. So and then I also had one for the Monday night game that shout out Hope in the Discord. She actually took that down. But I had it chopped up, I think 4 or 5 ways. So we were getting 2,800. It was a pretty small like dupe lineup. But Sutton I had Sutton, I was fading Javonte, and they just kept dinking and dunking to Javonte the entire like fourth quarter. And then anything to Sutton was just like, there was nothing to Sutton. And then, the debacle we won't get into, but yeah. So,
yeah, exactly.
So that bumped me down, but yeah, otherwise it was net positive, which was good. It was nice.
I saw in I don't know if it was the main Monday night tournament, which again, for anybody that hasn't played, these varying different contests that we have for Battle Royale stuff is pretty wild. And the strategy varies just like absolutely insanely. I think for the main tournament, or one, I can't keep track. There's so many tournaments out there nowadays. I think for the main tournament, somebody solo shipped it with Will Dissly, had basically the stone cold nuts and took Will Dissly with their last pick, which is crazy, Jesus. But also tells you like about these tournaments, and we'll get into kind of how some of that strategy applies. The main slate is like, I mean, think about that in a single game slate, you can solo ship. You're only drafting 4 players.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's drafting all the same different combinations. Shane mentioned you had a fairly non-duped lineup there at the top, and someone was able to navigate their way to the stone cold nuts, and it was not duplicated in a single game tournament. And so when we extrapolate that to here, we're mostly going to talk about the main slate for NFL Week 2, and think about the fact that everybody's only drafting on Underdog only 6 players, and how many players that leaves that are like legit good options going undrafted in every tournament. I think that's probably where we should start with all of this, is like, how do you theorize that kind of strategy for these contests? Because it's just so different than any other like contest that we have available to us in like the entire gambling space.
It's really unique. And like you said, there's last week, I think when you look at the winning lineup of the main slate, that 140K, it was, I would consider it chalky. There was, they had the Mahomes stack. They hit the nuts on running back, and they hit the nuts on wideout, but damn near had to have the perfect team. I had 4 of those winning pieces. I just had Connor and Marquise Brown as the 2 pieces that didn't quite get me there. Took $75 home with that lineup, but you really, really got to hit the nuts. But, like you said, the fact that we're only taking 6 teams. So, yeah, here's that winning team. Didn't have Saquon and didn't have Pittman, but had everybody else here, which, is really how these lineups are going to go. But there's a lot of very interesting undrafted pieces here in some game environments that look like could really have some shootout potential that are not going drafted, a lot of their pieces.
Yeah, I will agree 100% with that. And like, I obviously in this, the larger they get, we're just going to have to you're going to have to get the nuts. But
yeah,
with I think now with more with injuries and paying attention to that, and with the way these ADPs, which we can get into the ADPs and how they do or do not update, which they seem to on my end for a split second and then reverted back, is what we've been talking about. Yeah, there's, like Nez said, there's plenty of pieces that are just not being drafted at all, that if you just now go to projections or just game totals, I mean, it's easy leverage in this large tournament because it's all consolidated towards these top people over and over again.
Yeah. So for people that maybe haven't drafted in this in any other sport or in the NFL, we do have we're putting out a shit ton actually of content around these tournaments on Spike Week. So for every slate, basically every single showdown, we're calling it showdown, right? We're stealing it from DraftKings. So prime time, Thursday night, Sunday night, Monday night. Silas Jackson is doing kind of a strategy breakdown, and it's actually really insightful because he's helping drive through. How do we find Will Dissly, right? Everybody knows when you have, to take Javonte and to take Cortland Sutton and DK Metcalf, right? Tomorrow night, I mean, I don't have to tell anybody to draft Mike Williams and Travis Kelce and all of that. Yeah. But how do you win this tournament when everybody is drafting those guys, right? Those guys, you need to take them. And then, as you guys mentioned, on the main slate is like where it gets to me like really, really crazy. And so we also have rankings, and this is the first thing that I go through every Tuesday morning for these tournaments, is go put together rankings. Obviously, our sister company is RotoGrinder, so I'm using RotoGrinder's projections plus ADP plus some strategic elements and stuff to put together rankings. But it's funny, like you mentioned, the very first thing that you see off the top is so like Christian McCaffrey would probably be second overall if I didn't adjust for ADP at all. And you mentioned, he's going in the second round of these drafts. And again, they're 6-person drafts. So second round it's not quite the same as what we might normally think. But we went from Christian McCaffrey, is he the 101 or 102 all offseason, right? Was the debate. And now on a slate without half the best offenses in the league in week 2 against a Giants defense that is like, okay, maybe it's not the worst in the NFL, but it's certainly not someone that we're afraid of. We're not even taking Christian McCaffrey in the first round of these drafts. He was the very, very first thing that just jumped out to me. Like, what are we doing here?
Yeah, that's the number.
I have so much of him right now.
Yeah, he's my highest exposed running back, and it went with that. Along with the countless other people that we could I mean, for me, it's also Kamara. Like he's now practiced, but he's going undrafted, like literally undrafted.
Good point.
So
undrafted. I 14th. He's 14th overall.
Yeah, 2-3 turn here. So unreal, dude. It's crazy.
So yeah, he goes undrafted, and but to go with your CMC point, I'm getting him in the second round, and I've seen combos of him going with Kupp and Chase. I mean, obviously, it's starting to become a little more not as common. I've seen more screenshots, but yeah, it's absolutely insane that we're just not we're going it's always Jonathan Taylor. No, like in that pick, there's no ifs, ands, or buts. It's Jonathan Taylor, and it's like we're just assuming it's just going to be Jonathan Taylor can only put up that game now, and CMC can't. And I don't understand. He is my highest exposed running back. Like he's an auto click for me at 4, 5, and 6, and he's falling past that sometimes. So I'll get him in the 7 and 8 spot, and it's beautiful.
Yeah, context is so important when looking at all of week one. I mean, Taylor played so many, like some of the most snap, like behind the Bengals. I'm not sure if they were second, but like played so many snaps. And then McCaffrey, the Panthers played 50 snaps total. Like he had like damn near no, like let's give this guy just a little bit more chance whenever he's not playing the Browns, who look like they're going to run the hell out of the ball all the time, especially this coming week, which Chubb also is free in these contests, and he could run for 200. He could run for 200 next week. But it's just nuts. It's just nuts. And I think that this is just such a great opportunity to take advantage of people reacting so heavily to stuff that to the wrong signals. So awesome stuff on any site that allows you to draft against other people. You can really take advantage of some silly mistakes.
I actually like this format for that last point that you made, maybe more than any other format. So like, obviously I come from DFS. I'm sure you guys play traditional DFS, DraftKings,
Right.
FanDuel, etc. And I'm sure people listening to this also play DFS. Who doesn't love DFS? But we've evolved in that space where it's like, look, nobody, projection, because everything is projection based and there's tons of good content and smart people. Nobody is saying like, oh my God, it's over for Christian McCaffrey.
Right.
Nobody in that space is saying like, okay, now Christian McCaffrey should be priced at 6K on DraftKings or whatever. That doesn't exist. But in this is the one market where, like you said, arguably the most valuable running back, whether you think it's him or JT. I pulled this up because it was funny. Nez said that the Colts threw as many passes as the Panthers ran offensive plays on Sunday. Shit, Jonathan Taylor almost touched the ball as many times as the Panthers had offensive plays on Sunday. And so from a rate perspective, like all you need is a little bit of Panthers like offensive success. And this matchup is, like you said, a lot better than the Browns. And so anyway, this is the one space where that thing we can take advantage of, because you're actually going to you're never going to get an ownership discount on Christian McCaffrey because he had a bad game last week in DFS. Maybe in week 12 where, maybe if something has actually changed for Christian McCaffrey, it'll change in DFS. But we'll be in week 4 or week 5. And on DraftKings, if he has a bad first month and his price goes down, you're not getting leverage playing Christian McCaffrey. But here in this contest, you can. And then you add in the Chubbs and the Kamaras. It pains me to say it. I like Leonard Fournette this week, in these drafts too. There's so many of those guys we can take advantage of.
I'm in full agreement with you there. It happened last week, which is how Saquon ended up on that winning team along with Swift. Like those guys were going so late in every draft, and in half PPR. I know in best ball where we have to start more wide receivers than we do running backs, it obviously makes more sense, to go for the wide receivers in the season long. But whenever we're looking at micro, in my opinion, just with half PPR, it really goes in favor of like if you can get 2 studs, like just get those 2 studs. I mean, to me that just feels like a more like I'm not saying don't ever take 3 wideouts in your builds, but to me it just really lends itself to waiting and getting a running back with insane usage projections late that you can get for free, in the 6th round.
Yeah, there's RB1s littered in the like undrafted. So I mean, getting different, it's all about just being willing not to be a slave to ADP and be like, oh, this guy's there, because I mean, there's Antonio again. It's kind of gross, but Antonio Gibson, Najee, Kamara, even Henderson, Fournette, like you mentioned, one of my
especially now that that Q tag popped up.
And now Swift. I know I was inverted said in the Discord that now that he sees that, I'm not going to spoil it for him, but he sees that and he's like, if he falls, he's like, I'm going to try and take him because I'm going to take advantage of it, because this is not an important day. We know that when it comes to Wednesday, if people are going to overreact on top of that, then it's just going to be perfect to take advantage of. But yeah, there's so many options with running back that you can just it's so easy to get just different in these tournaments, which I love. Mm-hmm. And like they project very well. Are we going 0 RB? Yeah, that is perfect. I mean, if you don't get a Taylor or McCaffrey, I don't see why not.
And it's funny because this is kind of a joke, but not really. But it's your zero running back team has, like you said, Leonard Fournette or
Right.
Alvin Kamara,
Not
or,
your typical star RB targets.
And that's the power, is that you can take, let's, look at, so last week I was just smashing Kelsey in the first round, right? Now you can take Cup, we don't really, have one of the superstar tight ends on this main slate. Cup, Devontae, Chase. It's basically those three at the top. Of course, I love JT and CMC just like everybody else does. But like, if you don't get one of those guys, you can get this superstar wide receiver that has, as we saw last week. I know Pittman had a good game and ended up on the winning lineup, but like what Jefferson, Cup, Chase, Devontae, Diggs, what these guys can do is just otherworldly. And I can get those guys and then compare that 2v2, right? Just think through that 2v2. Give me Devontae Adams with a 50% target share against the Cardinals.
Right.
Yep.
And Leonard Fournette or Alvin Kamara or Nick Chubb or Antonio Gibson against the Lions, as opposed to I like Joe Mixon. I've drafted Joe Mixon too, but Joe Mixon and whatever, DK Metcalf. Like, you start to walk through those 2v2s and like, it sounds funny because you're calling it zero RB, but really all it is getting the guy that has almost the same projection outside of really JT and McCaffrey and a superstar wide receiver, as opposed to like, and again, I like some of these guys, Christian Kirk, Amon-Ra, those guys are fine. And like, but I want them to be like my wide receiver too, with Cooper Kupp and Devontae Adams, and cycle through those other wide receivers. And then it also allows me to cycle through all these running backs that you guys mentioned. We haven't even probably hit on all of it. You talked about Henderson. Henderson could be the lead running back for the Rams in a really good matchup. Undrafted. Kamara, Gibson, Najee. If Swift falls, like you said, there's just so many of those options. And again, like you said, it's half point PPR, which makes them even better.
Mm-hmm. And to touch on that, you can manipulate the room, especially if you can see your draft opponents if they've locked in 2 running backs, you can see right away, or even done one, like you'll know you can only go 2 running backs in this format. So like you can immediately see if they go to the top 2, if they go and take Mixon, I'm just going to Mixon, Patterson, Elliott, Chubb, if they happen to go by ADP, you can then really go zero RB and just know, well, the people around me can't even take running back, so I'm just going to wait. You know what I mean? Like that's another thing that goes along and kind of even, it just piggybacks on top of that. And it's really nice. It's really like smart to watch their draft mates and know if they have 2, it's like, well, then I'm just going to wait and just take these RB1s in the last round.
Point.
Yeah, that's part of why I don't really like multi-tabling is fun with these, especially when it's 150 max and you only have so much time to draft as much of these as you may choose to. I like to pay attention to the room, so that way I can tell like who's got the QB, who's got the tight end. It's really helpful to pay attention to these, as fun and as easy as it is to multi-table and just plow through like 20 in 10 minutes. But
really good point. And so I wanted to bring up the roster, right? We mentioned that you only draft six players, but you can absolutely take advantage of your room every single time that you're in one of these drafts, just like you said, and it's at every position. Quarterback and tight end. I love to do it at tight end. Talk about zero running back. I'm punting tight end like crazy this week because, there's no Travis Kelce. Of course, I like Kyle Pitts and Waller and Andrews just like everybody else does. But you can manipulate your room with those guys too. Like I think I pulled it up. I've done 11 of these so far, and there was one of the last ones I did. Yep, Kyle Pitts in the last round, and it was like just because everybody. Yep. Everybody just so happened to take other tight ends, and I did exactly what Shane said. I'm looking through and I'm like, oh, everybody has their tight end already. And the site, they're not going to take Kyle Pitts as their flex, I don't think. Yeah. And so I'm just like, I'll push it. I'll just wait and see. And then, like you said, last round, Kyle Pitts. And so there's a lot of that you can do again in this format. That's pretty fun. And quarterback's much easier than tight end because technically someone could draft 2 tight ends if they wanted to. But same thing, you can only draft 2 running backs. You can only draft, 3 wide receivers, and you can only draft 1 quarterback. So if everybody around you has done that, and maybe you still like whatever Kyler, but everybody else took their quarterbacks, take other positions, and those are just tiny little things that you can do in these that, like you said, like Nez said, I don't know if I could multi-table these, to be honest with you. They also go really fast.
True.
The picks go really fast.
Yeah.
It's kind of tough.
I push it sometimes. Sometimes I can't have any split second of not drafting. I just have to be looking at a list at all times. I'm a sicko.
Yeah. A couple of quick things I want to hit. A couple of the comments. I'm going to come. DJA asked about quarter season tournaments. Ironically, there's an option that's not quite a quarter season tournament, but kind of a quarter season tournament that we'll talk to Eric. No, we are not drafting backup quarterbacks. So no Trey Lance this week. Obviously, kidding. AKA Malik Willis, AKA Trey Lance. And then DJ asked, "Do you do any snake?" Multiple people have mentioned this to me. I have not done any snake drafts on DraftKings because they don't have tournaments, and I don't like to invest the time without the upside. But people have mentioned that they are like really soft, and people were saying instead of playing like 50-50s and head-to-heads in DFS, they were putting their cash game action into snake drafts because apparently I guess they were quite a bit softer. So I haven't done that. I don't know if you guys have. I've been sticking to tournaments.
Have not, but I might have to grind that edge. That sounds pretty intriguing. I mean, DK has some absolute donkeys, so that might be something to check out.
I know. I haven't done any of that for DraftKings. I know this is probably going to be the most just sicko comment ever, but I had quite a little bit of bankroll on FanDuel, and they didn't do any tournaments for best ball, but I manually went and entered Spike Week rankings and then just auto drafted over and over the $1 tournaments. The little cash game tournaments, because I had whatever, and I auto drafted about I think it was 50. And about I think it was like 35 of them are all in first, and they're all pretty close. They're just so to say soft FanDuel, and I would imagine that those are pretty soft, great. Like GK and that. So that was just a funny thing, but
that is great. So before we start to hop into some drafts, that's the most fun part. We'll talk through some players, talk through strategy, etc. While we're in the drafts, I wanted to bring up drafters because they have, they don't call it Battle Royale, but it's basically the same thing as the Underdog Battle Royale. A little bit different format. So if I pull up, this is kind of their main tournament. It is 10 rounds. So it's quite a bit bigger, but it's only five players, teams in each draft. So, you're getting 50 versus 36 players drafted in those. It is full point PPR. So it's their same normal drafters scoring. And so just a smidge different, right? But I've seen some people in the Discord posting some teams, and it's like Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce and Jamar Chase and like Christian McCaffrey. And I'm like, who the hell is drafting with you? And who are those people taking? So I'm pretty intrigued by drafters. And then to DJA's question, they have some unique formats that I think are really fun. You see here, they have a 2 quarterback format, so super flex, obviously, that is something different, right? All of Underdog's tournaments are the exact same for main slates and stuff, and Drafters is doing some different formats. So we'll decide later on what we want to hop into. And then the last one is they have this kind of crazy, call it winner moves on tournament. So you draft in a pool of 4, and if you win in that group of 4 out of your draft, you move on to next week. You draft in another. You redraft the team, a new team.
Oh, you redraft. Okay.
Yeah, you do another draft again. I believe that's what someone was explaining to me. This is literally the first time I'm like talking it through. But you get into another pool of 4 for next week, and you do that week 2, week 3, week 4, week 5, and it's a pool of 4 every single time until you get to obviously into the top 64 here, and first place gets $1,500. And so it's kind of interesting to me. A very, very, like, you want to talk about different format. That one is very, very different. So to DJA's question about like, do we have quarter season best ball? Kind of like this is like you don't have to play DFS. This is kind of your version of that. And this is Updog, by the way. It's so you have a set time to draft every week, assuming you advance. So
gotcha.
So
that's really cool.
We have a lot of different kind of formats to mess around with in these streets.
Yeah, and I will say it's coming from the MLB. We like grinding the MLB dailies. They're always smaller, and I my brain works better in small field DFS, so it translated very well. So like these new or NFL contests, it's adjusting, like that. But like, so like drafters fits well for like my play style. Honestly, like having the smaller field, that's perfect because it's just easier for my brain to wrap our head around rather than the daunting 56. Yeah, that's just, I don't know. Yeah, I like that entries. Those are nice. And even when you got the 1.5K, it was like, I think it was like 1,700 entries. So it's perfect. Those are like the fields that I like to do for DFS. So it translates well. So when you come into these like large fields, it's a totally different ball game.
Yeah, Drafters is nice too because it's a little. You get the different style with the 10 rounds, and you get full PPR, so you get a different way of thinking there. And I really like their swap system as well. How you're able to actually like pick and choose like a player to swap and like
That's
what you
nice.
draft the team. That's actually pretty nice compared to just like letting like your rankings decide on UD, which is just like if you're a sharp player. It's not necessarily like a late swap. I'm pretty sure you can only do it if somebody's injured, but it's really nice having like full control of that. It's really nice. If you haven't done it, check it out.
That's a really good and low-key underrated point, like you said. It, probably a little bit more for like baseball and basketball when we get to basketball season with, guys not being in the lineup or guys resting or whatever. But it also is more so DeAndre Swift, right? He's fine. Like I'll be honest with you, it's like if people worrying about Wednesday injury reports should probably take a fucking relax a little, but
play a different game.
Like my God, yeah, like Jesus, I don't even look at them, and people are like, "Yo, Swift is hurt. Should I pick the season long bros? Like, should I pick somebody?" I'm like, God, please, But like what's more comfortable when you have a really easy swap option to take Swift. So like I've been one of the, if anybody read the main slate article that I put together for this week, I do a couple of like top plays, if you will. And George Kittle is actually one of them. We'll definitely talk about that through tight end. He doesn't get drafted. And he finally has a projection, but he didn't originally have a projection on Underdog. But on drafters, when like I can literally hand pick, like Nez said, the tight ends that I want to put into certain teams, as opposed to the rankings, just auto picking the guy for me. It's even more beneficial to take George Kittle. Like also, I'm pretty fucking certain George Kittle's going to play. But if by chance he doesn't, if I can go and hand pick the tight ends that I want in each lineup, right? Because like if I have, this is a terrible example because I'm probably not going to have Patriots players, but if I had like Patriots players, like I want Pat Fryermuth maybe opposing the Patriots players on those teams, and maybe on another team I want whatever Tyler Higbee, and being able to hand pick them is nice.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that's the one thing that we hope to get like changed kind of in the future for Underdog, because not having to be able to pick. But yeah, on your Kittle point, yeah, he is my highest exposed or my second highest exposed tight end. So I agree with you there. I've been smashing Kittle, so.
That's some sick
just free.
I keep trying to. I have 45% Kittle, and I'm like forcing myself to take some of these other guys here and there, just because like I'm like I don't want to take 100% Kittle, but he's literally in the last round in every single draft. Doesn't get drafted. People are drafting like I'm trying to. We can pull up the rankings really fast. I mean, like, what are we doing with Dalton Schultz over George Kittle? Do people know that Dak is hurt? Like we're doing this.
That's a question I have for you. My highest exposed player is CeeDee Lamb, and so
CeeDee is different than Schultz. Though.
That's what yeah. So I've been trying to say it to like, and it's like he goes undrafted at this point. Like in so many drafts he's undrafted, which I mean he could be then that easy swap for people if there is a wide receiver out. But I mean, I just see it as like it's CeeDee Lamb. I can't wrap my head around that him not just people. They're just overreacted so much to him. Like he's just been in the number one click. Like I've sent it to Nez and like a team. Like I guess it's just CeeDee or bust for me this week. Like if CeeDee goes down, I'm going down with it. So
what do you guys think about? What do you guys think about that? We can hit a few kind of the high level player takes or whatever. Like what's your, you mentioned CeeDee, I mentioned Kittle. We talked about some of the running backs and stuff. Nez, is there anybody else that was like jumping out to you that you're just like, yeah, this guy's not going drafted or is just way too cheap or whatever, or, has a good matchup, or it could be anything. What was kind of your original sense so far?
Yeah, so like my two like biggest points on that. So first off, Leonard Fournette. I'm taking like a shit ton. I think, listening to Hayden and Josh kind of talk about how like we just kind of forget how like efficient and what Leonard Fournette can do on the football field, like being Tom Brady's running back and just getting like he looked great in those rushing attempts, and like they were in such positive game script that we didn't even get to see him catch much balls. I think that this game is going to be pretty tight, and I think it could be higher scoring than Vegas has it at right now, which is at 44.5. So he's available like last round. I have to I'm like begging other people to take him, so I don't take him. And then the second game that I like in these weapons is all of like Detroit and the Commanders. That game is a 48.5 point total, and outside of Swift, not a lot getting taken here. Hawkinson is interesting. He gets taken sometimes, but I really am into Amon-Ra, really into Gibson. I have trouble getting too cute in these contests just because somebody's gonna draft a super team, and the odds of a wide like DJ Chark getting there over Amon-Ra is I can't really I can't in good faith tell you to do that. But with this high total, just looking at a Terry McLaurin bounce back week, maybe you can even get I just think that this has a chance to put up a lot of points with the 48.5 total. It's one of the second highest games on the slate, I believe. So that game for me has sneaky potential to add a lot of those pieces outside of Swift.
Yeah, I love that.
This is kind of super funny from Rob. The year's 2055, and we're still waiting for CD to break out. That one hits that hits at my core. It's funny you mentioned the Commanders game because I had some of this a little bit here, so you see on the right side of the screen. I have one or two. But your point is so spot on about there's this fine line we have to walk on getting crazy cute. Mm-hmm. And getting cute enough with the upside to still win. Like you mentioned DJ Chark, right? You can draft, and in this team, all I did was draft Terry McLaurin against the Lions, and I just so happened to take Wentz in the last round, to pair with him, and Amon-Ra, and I have freaking Christian McCaffrey and Joe Mixon and Kyle Pitts on the team, and that's Terry McLaurin doesn't get drafted. You know what I mean? Carson Wentz doesn't get drafted. Carson Wentz was the QB1 or QB2 last week. If that happens, again against the Lions, and maybe that game shoots out like you mentioned, that's cute enough. That's cute for this tournament. Mm-hmm. It's Terry McLaurin. It's cute.
Taking two teams wide receiver ones is getting unique. That's what makes us that. That's as far as you really need to go. Truthfully, I mean, we talk about getting the players that aren't drafted. Well, these are the players that don't get drafted.
Yes, exactly. And this is definitely. I agree. I do agree with Mike. As I pull up a Commander stack, Mike is dunking on me here in the chat. But what do we want to draft first? We'll do a couple. We'll definitely do one or two Underdog. We'll get into the drafter streets. Should we hop in Underdog first?
Sure.
Yeah. Let's try an Underdog draft. Probably got some people waiting.
It is also nice that they fill super fast.
So fast.
If you want to draft at any time of the day, literally any time of the day, if you want to draft, you can draft.
I didn't see your exposures. Are you taking a lot of Javonte right now? I'm not sure how you feel about where he's going and his game, but to me it seems like it's a gigantic smash spot.
He's definitely going a little too high, I think, but I don't want to have zero Javonte either because of
Yeah.
JT, if JT punched in any, JT could have just completely broke the slate, basically, is what I'm trying to say. Saquon kind of did, but JT had 31 carries for 1,000,000 yards and 7 targets. Javonte isn't going to get that. Javonte isn't going to get that level of workload. But if he comes out and has 150 total yards and 2 touchdowns, would you be surprised? I wouldn't. And so he's the perfect example of. I don't want to leave with 0, but I don't want to make him a core stand. If
gotcha.
You know what I mean.
Yeah. No, I'm with you there, just based on how early he goes in these. But you can see it. You can see the outcome where he just smashes. He looks. I loved the way he looked. Loved the way he looked, and the usage. And the way that they used him.
Yes.
It was very, very exciting.
So Cup goes, JT goes. We'll see so we're drafting out of the 105 for audio listeners. What are you guys doing here? Are you taking one of these running backs or?
it's
kinda
for me,
opposite
it's
of the
it's
wideouts.
tough. Yeah, I like to go the wideouts, but it's like for me, it's like it's either CMC or Devontae or Debo. That's my only thing right here.
Yep,
I'm
yeah.
really high on Debo this week. Like very,
Okay.
over Devontae. It's tough, but it would either be Devontae or CMC. Like I really, it's a toss up.
Nez, do you have a preference?
Those are the best
Devontae.
plays.
I'm Devontae, and
Yeah.
just because I think CMC has the chance to come. CMC has the chance to come back, but Devontae does not.
And that's it. And like we talked about, there's so many running backs that you're not going to get Devontae in the second round. You can potentially get CMC production in the 6th round. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, So yeah, exactly.
Shane and I have been talking just like in Discord back and forth. We are both like super stoked about Debo this week. I'm not sure how. That's an interesting pick, by the way, Darren Waller.
Yes.
But Debo this week to me is just like
I love him. I just think with Elijah out, my telling my story for next week for Debo is week. And again, I need to look this up because I don't know. I know there was talks about it in the offseason about putting it in the contract about using him as an RB. But I literally think next week we could be talking about the RB1 wide receiver 1 Debo again, where he's just doing it. And it's like, and that's the same reason why I love Trey Lance this week is for people are just overreacting, and I could see more rushing upside for him as well. But yeah, I love Debo. I think he's in a smash spot.
Yeah, once Eli Mitchell got hurt, the running game went to shit last week. Obviously, I mean, I don't know if you guys saw the field. That was awful. That was a disaster. There wasn't anything good coming from that game from a fantasy perspective. But I totally agree with you. And even if so, Debo had 8 targets. They only threw the ball 26 times or something like that. And Debo had eight targets. He only caught 2 balls, but he also had 6 or 8 carries, and obviously had the rushing touchdown. He's got the bag now. He probably doesn't want to play running back, but Kyle's probably in meetings this week. Like, brother, we got to win. Like,
you signed the contract, man, my brother.
He's like, we just had to sign Marlon Mack to the practice squad. Like, we don't got nobody else.
Yeah, like
man.
People are talking Jeff Wilson. It's like, can we just pump the brakes? Like, we know what Jeff Wilson is. Like,
I think what's also encouraging about Debo is that he got, I think I saw in Ben stealing signals because I didn't watch the whole game. He got Ben Gretsch stealing signals. He got carries from the 6-yard line and the 4-yard line. I mean, that's all you need. That's all you need to know. And he is that guy when that situation arises. He's that guy.
And especially when we're writing off that game, I think when like basically the entire 4th quarter, they're using CGI to put the play, like the field markers on the field. We can just be like, all right, let's just the kid that's played in a dome and now sunny weather. He said he's played in more snow than he has rain.
I know.
So let's just.
One real quick. Sorry about just this draft board is interesting. Chubb, I do not typically see go that early
and going at the 301.
Yeah, that dude's just kind of drafting weird. I'm pretty sure he took Waller too. I'm pretty sure, or maybe that was New York Jets, but
it was New York Jets. Yep.
So, who do you guys like here? I do like Javonte.
I was going to say,
Javonte or Kyler for me.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I feel like Kyler and Lamar to me really separate this week among the field. There are some like late QB options that I do like, but I think that like those two have seen. And of course, we were talking about Javonte, so we have options.
I think we can try Javonte. Sure. Yeah, if we want to do Kyler, what do you think? That my only like concern, if you will, with Kyler, I like Kyler, especially when we have Javonte, but are you pairing him with like Ertz? Hollywood is still here, I guess, but he probably won't come back. How are you kind of playing this now since we're in this a little bit awkward spot? You know what I mean, from a stacking perspective.
Right. Yeah, I like to wait on Hollywood. Hollywood can sometimes fall to the 6th, especially if you took Kyler. And I like Ertz this week. I mean, I'd get him a week healthier. I know he played a little bit. He got there. He hit pay dirt. That's how he paid off. But it's hard for me to get away from Kyler. I think this game shoots out.
I'm cool with Kyler. Shane, what do you like?
I like it because I was going to say I've seen Hollywood fall like even past this, and I know we're streaming now, probably going to go, but like, like I have
right now, he's literally going to go right now.
He's my third highest exposed wide receiver because I'm not trying to force it because he's going in every draft. I'm trying to make my combos of him specifically unique. The guys that are most likely going 100% of the time. But I mean, when he falls to like, I can see him falling to the 5th. He's done that quite a bit. Javonte has fallen even to the 4th and 5th sometimes. Like, it's been some weird drafts. So yeah, that's why I for sure Kyler there.
Zeke, okay, call your shot.
Holy cow!
And even Kyler, even naked Kyler, like I don't hate it. So
Sure.
And I was just gonna add, on this team, we talked through all the late running backs that we like, and we'll have to look at the board because, like you mentioned, Chubb has gone and Zeke has already gone, which is wild. Some of the guys not being drafted, and we're gonna take Zeke. Anyway, shout out to what Big Draco or whatever his name is. But using the tight end position on this specific team, I think if I were just talking through maximizing the upside, and I'm going to say Zach Ertz in a conversation about maximizing upside, but using the tight end with the stack is like, please God, let tight end be low scoring. Maybe Ertz catches a touchdown or two, and then we get one of these high upside running backs as our flex spot.
And this seems like the slate where that could happen. I do like Andrews Lamar a lot this week, but they have a low, I'm against Vegas by thinking that game's going to go over 44.5, but it's only 44.5 total. There's a chance that Andrews doesn't smash and separate. So like you said,
we have the choice
telling yourself
between Hollywood. Yeah.
Do you prefer going the Ertz route and then a running back, or do you just prefer the upside of Hollywood? Obviously, then we're going to be one running back.
Both is fine, honestly. It's tough. It's really tough. Like, if you'd want to go the upside of Hollywood, but like you just laid out the stack with the tight end, which is why I like that too. So
we do have a lot of other tight ends that could get there. I can do either. Let's do Ertz.
Yeah, we'll do Ertz.
There's plenty of other wideouts out there too that can easily, you know what I mean? It's just, you don't have to. So, and you're also making yourself a little different too.
Would you ever double stack, or is that like too much?
See, I really don't.
Not in this. I don't really either.
I just think you need to basically hit the stone cold nuts. And it's really hard. One way to do it would probably be tight end, but I just think so. Like you see, we have Fournette available, we have Kamara available, Gibson is available. Those would be my.
I'm not high on Najee, but yeah, they're just there. It's crazy.
I just prefer these guys. I think to the double step. Well, Hollywood's gone anyway, but only a few seconds. You guys have a preference between any of these guys?
Leonard and
Fournette's my lane.
Yeah, that's my top two for sure.
Are you worried at all about Kamara just based on like what we've kind of seen in this new era of Saints football? So. I am too. He's not earning or needing to be targeted as much as he was whenever he was that stone cold RB1, and it's making me a little nervous. I'm not gonna lie.
I agree. I think he still is going to pop for some games, right? He's really good at football. He's going to get some goal line carries and all of that. But I think, to your point, the team is a little bit different. I think the loss of Breeze is just hard to like understate, really. He still had some games, with Jameis where he would get some, high passing volume, but just his normal role is not the same with Jameis. And now we have Michael Thomas is back. They brought in Jarvis Landry and they drafted Chris Olave, which is good for the offense, which is why he's still going to have some good games, but he's still a committee back, committee like 60-40, 65-35, whatever. And they don't need to throw. He doesn't need those 12 target games. And that's not what Jameis wants to do in the first place. So I still like him. Like you said, him going undrafted and Zeke going in the 4th round is just fucking ridiculous. But
don't condone that.
Yeah. Comparing him to like when we got down to that end, I prefer Fournette. I actually prefer Gibson this week. I think him and Najee are probably. It's more like him and Najee are closer.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, and plus Taysom, running Wildcat at the goal line too. There's just a lot for me. Like, and I was I was like buying into Kamara like at the end of draft season where I was expecting him to have such a huge bump, and he didn't have that bump. I was like, well, okay, like I guess I'm gonna buy in, and now I'm like, I don't know what's happening here, but like you said, he still has those huge games, so that's the whole point, drive him to the playoffs when no one else has them, and cash, easy game.
Yep. You just need the 6 touchdown game or whatever it was that he had.
That was
against
could
the
tell you the
Vikings.
exact stat line. Was it against the Vikings?
That was against the Vikings on Christmas Eve. Yeah, it was a great Christmas Eve gift.
Maybe we could tell you all about it.
Let's hop in one of these drafters. Do you guys have a preference on do you want to just do the regular kind of their $5, regular? I haven't done any yet. So I don't know that I want to get into the winner moves on or the team quarterback with my first. Maybe we just hop in one of the regular ones.
Yeah. I think that's a good launching point. These are fun.
More.
I like whenever you get the half PPR. And so this is 10 slots, right? I kind of forget the total, like the number of roster spots that you need here. I need to check.
And so it's 4 teams, right? Or is this one not?
I think it's just 5.
This one's 5.
So,
okay.
All right. So let's look at it really quickly. So five teams.
Okay, 5 for this one. Gotcha.
10. Where's roster and scoring? You draft 10 players. Obviously,
Nice.
full PPR, we've discussed. 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, 3 wide receivers, a tight end, and 1 flex. So
Just a
2
full starting
backs,
lineup. Nice.
full normal starting lineup.
Gotcha.
So that's so let me look at this. I love that they have the field goals and defensive points.
Immediately when I was going through and I saw that, I'm like, are we drafting kickers right now? Like, what's going on right now?
No.
Like, do I actually have to do this? Like, okay.
Here's where I always get confused is finding my draft boards.
Mm-hmm. Once you're there, though, it's nice.
Yes, exactly.
I know we're on drafters. I just meant to bring this up because Underdog has also different, they have the 6-man contest and they also have the 12-man. So maybe that's another thing I don't know if after this we can touch on how you specifically, or if you've done them, like kind of your strategy on the 12, like it's a normal draft, like you're doing a best ball basically, but 6 rounds.
Also totally misspoken. These are eight rounds. I was saying 10. Tells you how much I pay attention. So it's
I don't know why I
same.
was like with you. I'm like, yeah, totally, definitely 10.
Somebody said 10 to me. This is what I get for listening to other people without looking at it myself. But so literally it's literally the same.
Do they have an ADP or is it just projections, or just kind of like a player pool?
Look at
that. Nice.
Wow, quarterback at the top.
I was just going to say, for a site that's full PPR, they kind of buried their wideouts.
It's very interesting.
Yes, it is.
I'm not mad at that.
So we're 103. I kind of like 103 here when we have, you have McCaffrey, you have the 3 superstar wide receivers. I still like JT too, even though it's full point PPR. Saquon is nice in full point PPR.
Yep.
Devontae goes 1. Who, if you had a preference? Okay, so Devontae and Cup go. Do you prefer Chase, McCaffrey? I think it's got to be McCaffrey.
I think McCaffrey in full PPR.
Yeah. Yep.
Like if there's ever a chance for him to just completely just variance, just hitting him in the face and just going nuts in full PPR, that would be just fantastic.
This is interesting.
And you get a lot of late RBs that I like more in full PPR than half.
That's true.
That I think are really in play here. But
there goes Saquon.
And we have to draft 2 RBs, right?
At least 2. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. That's I'm seeing that there. So this is an interesting.
This is the tricky range, right? To me, once you kind of get, especially in full PPR, you get those 3 running backs off the board and those 3 wide receivers off the board. It's like really, so mixing goes. It really is wide open. I still like Debo. Tight end is. We could go to Andrews or Waller.
My main thing I've been doing in the other drafts is doing Andrews and hoping Lamar comes back and hoping for that stack. So that I'm open for that, but I also love Debo. But yeah, that's my most exposed just stack is just taking, in my mind, I think the bully quarterback tight end route, and you're also getting the highest upside combo. Mm-hmm. So
yeah, I'm into that. Like I told Numi, I'm targeting Lamar and Mark quite a bit.
I like that. I also like. Because like you mentioned, there are some later running backs and I do really believe after those top 3 wide receivers, it's kind of I really like Debo too, but like
in
Debo
full PPR, he kind of loses that a little bit.
Yeah, there's just a lot of options. And then the running back, I mean, we've already discussed for 50 minutes how many running backs that go later that we like. And so kind of if Andrews is Mark Andrews this week, especially in full point PPR, he's just going to bury everybody.
Yes.
And so once we get past those like top 6 or 7 guys or whatever, I think he's probably the next guy.
Yeah. I know Fairbanks is very active I see him on Underdog quite a bit. I will say with that Pittman pick, I think that's a bit of a reach. He needed 4 quarters and 10 extra minutes to do what he did. And now probably going to be positive game script.
Oh,
he heard me. He's like, okay.
Does he know something that I don't know about Kareem Hunt?
I don't know.
So do you just take Lamar here, or do you want to try to push it with no quarterbacks up the board?
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like you see this and it's like, oh.
The way I would draft and the way that we were talking about wideouts, I would take shoot, man. Debo's just staring us in the freaking face, man.
I'm cool either way.
I would go Lamar. Okay, all right. No. If you want to wait, let's do it. Let's see what happens.
Let's try it.
Yeah.
We can always take Lance later with Debo.
I was just gonna say we can literally take a guy that I like it. I love Trey Lance. So.
I'm so excited to see Lance in a not swamp just to see because the 13 rushing attempts you could say like he runs a lot though. That's going to happen regardless. So I want to see that again on dry land.
Soldier Field is terrible. It's just Soldier Field is just terrible for a field regardless.
That's good for us.
Then you make it a monsoon and it's just like I couldn't imagine any grip or anything out there.
Generally when the Bears players are celebrating like it's a slip and slide and they're still on the field, like that was what they were playing on.
There was no friction whatsoever.
Yeah. Justin Fields slid like 15 yards, it looked like. It was just
all right, we're good. We got Lamar.
Yeah, because he took
that's perfect.
Tyler.
That was it. That was exactly, and that's the pushing it. It's the same concept as best ball. I love it.
Hollywood.
That's an early Hollywood. This is
So Hollywood's another guy. I know we can't do tons of analysis in between picks. Who I'm not worried, but they were getting curb stomped, and he should theoretically draw a little more volume. I know the matchup is not pristine for him, and they were really targeting the middle of the field. Greg Dortch,
whatever Greg Dortch is.
But you would just like to have seen a little bit more. Again, it's 1 week. It's not that I'm not, aren't you worried? I'm not that worried, but little, I mean, it's kind of like a little worried, I guess.
Yeah, it's weird. To me, the Cardinals too, they just don't quite operate, I feel like, how you would expect them to in some game scripts. It's almost like it's almost just better where they're just running away with it. Cause it almost just seems like they kind of give up. And it kind of seemed like that last year too, where Kyler just looks like he just has no interest in the game sometimes. And then there's other games where it's just this guy, who's better than this guy?
All right. I got one guy who I think we absolutely need to take here, and it's Tyreek.
I was going to say it's Tyreek Hill.
Yeah, let's get that.
Little Lamar Andrews with the Tyreek bring back. The Ravens matchup is not amazing, obviously, but that 45% target share or whatever it was for Tyreek is enough. Is enough for he just needs one with that. Get the ball in his hands and run away from
the game. I really think their game can be more exciting than what the total says. I'm really into this game.
So that's one thing I think Hollywood, because the totals, there's only one game on the main slate that's over 50. I think that's artificially. He's just instantly being clicked. If his total was down below anyone else, he might not be taking every single draft. So
he shouldn't be. There's no reason that he should be taking every draft when some of these other guys are not taking in every draft. I'm not saying he's not a good option. He is. I like the game just like everybody else does, but I agree with you. I think it's he's being artificially pushed up because the game is exciting, and then people are drafting Kyler, and who the hell else are you going to stack? Are you going to, nobody wants to click Ertz, and they don't have any other wide receivers.
AJ Green.
Yeah.
Jesus.
All right. What we have? We're open for any position, obviously running back or wide receiver.
So
I would like to check out the wideouts.
So how worried are we of CD or it's not CD? T Higgins, because
that's tough.
It's tough, but I guess so.
I think he'll probably fall too. I think he'll probably fall.
That's true
too. Sutton, CD is there. Kirk,
This is so
Deontay.
flat.
Yeah.
Like Terry, I don't think I can double stack.
I like Sutton, but I can't say no to CD either. So I mean, yeah,
we can take Sutton and kind of give us a minute to see what we like on the comeback. There's a lot of running. I'm gonna just add a couple of these guys.
Yeah, right. They're just so many good options here at running back.
I really do like Gibson. Like a lot this week. What they started to find, which by the way, they can fuck right off in Washington. Finally using this, they're using him like a wide receiver. I spent 6 months last year being like,
why did we think of that? Like, Jesus Christ, man.
Like, literally posted my entire name around this. Like, if they just use him at the thing that he's really good at doing, we should take him in the second round. And they never did it. They used him like goddamn Zeke last year. Yeah. And then week 1, when I bury this dude all summer, and week 1, it's like, oh shit, he's running fucking corner routes and cooking DBs and stuff. Like, what are we doing?
Yeah,
insane.
He should have been an instant click at that price. He should have. I mean, just looking back at it, it's like, what are we doing? Like, I get it.
He would be my guy here.
Well, then also Brian Robinson, we can't expect him to shot. But so.
No,
yeah, I'm with.
I like Gibson here too. This is very nice environment for him.
I was with you on Gibson. I immediately, I was with him, and then as soon as you kept steaming him up, I was just like, you know what? Every single stream, I'm just like, you know what? Yeah. And then we're gonna use him like CMC. I'm like, you know what? And then I draft him in my home league and everything, and it's just rip. It was just a rip.
Awful, just awful.
Now this is where like the tier starts to separate. Although I do like Julio Jones. I don't know about you, but like I like the Bucks.
I like Julio and Gage both, actually. Maybe not quite as much for this format, but I think they're in play. I'm going to sprinkle the non-Mike Evans Bucks guys into drafts basically in the last round is what my strategy would be.
Mm-hmm. Well, aren't you worried that Julio didn't practice? The old Julio didn't sit out?
He's never going to practice on Wednesday.
Exactly.
You should that on a Wednesday.
I would be more concerned if he is practicing. I'm like, what are you doing? Like,
so based on your queue here, I think I like Kirk the most.
Full PPR. Yep.
Yeah. He's the guy. The only guy basically in Jacksonville. I could be talked into anything else.
Yeah, it's Kirk for me, because what you and Rob pointed out last night about basically all the new wide receivers posting, and I know it's week 1, but posting the highest target share. It's just like that was just so funny to look at. It was just you're going down. It's every new name except the superstars.
It's crazy, isn't it? It was absolutely crazy. This is a really good team, by the way.
Yeah, it is.
This is the point, though. Like I mentioned earlier, I was obviously exaggerating. Shocker, exaggerating a little bit. The teams you can get here are pretty crazy and pretty fun. I mean, Lamar is probably the QB1 this week. Some might argue Kyler. I think it's Lamar. Mark Andrews, obviously the tight end 1. Christian McCaffrey, most people had him as the 101 in all of fantasy heading into the year. And then, like you said, we didn't get the only thing you're not getting on this team is one of those top 3 wide receivers. But then you get Debo, again, second round pick all offseason. Tyreek Hill, second round pick all of offseason. Cortland Sutton got into the third round in the offseason. And then obviously a running back against the Lions and Christian Kirk, who was one of the highest targeted players in the NFL. I don't know. These teams are pretty fun. I'm going to be drafting a lot more on drafters, I think.
Yeah, that's going to be really fun.
Yeah, I agree.
Now to see how the drafts are going. If Kareem Hunt can continue to go in the third, please, in my drafts, that would be very, very appreciative of to my fellow draft mates.
Yeah,
I like that it's 8 rounds too, so that way you don't have to get like too cute. You know what I'm saying? Like you don't have to quite game theory quite as much. It's just like, it's just it kind of eliminates some of that with just like only 6. So very fun format here. This is good.
That's kind of one of a final-ish point to make is we talked about it on Underdog where you do need to kind of not Galbrain. Again, your example was perfect. You don't need a DJ Chark Galbrain. You can Terry McLaurin Galbrain, right?
Right.
But on here, it's like once you just add that many more layers, that many more players and full point PPR scoring and all of that, the dupes, it's not quite, you're not going to have to worry about quite the same level of dupes once you start tacking on an extra wide receiver, an extra flex.
Exactly.
It's a little bit, you don't have to dig that deep in the 8th round, right? We don't have, like, we took Christian Kirk in the 8th round. We don't have to take DJ Chark again as using that example. Love that. Yeah. John in the chat loving the 8 rounds. And this was an excellent.
The thing is, I'm not even a Lance truther. Like I'm at average ADP. I'm at 8%, but I'm not even a truther. I'm just saying that the dude, man, it's just it's fantasy. It's fantasy.
I know.
I've read your takes.
Don't get me started on Trey Lance, because if we draft a guy in fantasy, that means we think he's going to the Hall of Fame. Apparently, is what we think. And I'm like, I have fucking eyeballs. I can watch him play too. He's not very good at real life quarterback, but guess what? They score fantasy points. I don't know. I watch a lot of Lamar Jackson, and he doesn't look very good throwing the ball either. And that motherfucker won an MVP. Like. I don't really care about any of this. So anyway, this was a ton of fun. I don't want to keep everybody. I don't want to keep you guys. You guys got another show later, teaser for we're going to be bringing these guys back and bringing on a special guest to do some MLB playoff best ball, which I'm excited to start to dip my toes into as well. But as we kind of sign off here, you guys got anything else to touch on? I know you guys are already streaming some Battle Royale stuff, but anything else before we get out of here?
No, this was a blast. I know Numi and I are doing some stuff with Jay Warner over on our Badge Bros channel. You're going to see us again tonight with our boy Baseball. That's going to be a ton of fun. He's got some sick data. So if you are thinking about playing these baseball playoff contests, or you're scared and you're like intimidated, tune in tonight, because Baseball is going to lay it all out for you. And it's a perfect roadmap. So that's my plug for tonight. It's going to be a good show.
He has a free file that we will be able to plug in there, and we can make sure anyone in the Discord can have that. Anyone can look at that. It's just exactly a perfect roadmap of everything you'll need to know. And it's beautiful. It's going to be an awesome stream. So yeah, come check that out, guys. It's going to be fun.
Awesome. And then we'll be back. We'll figure out what the exact schedule is going to look like for in season for this show, but there's going to be plenty more Battle Royale content coming forward. So for the three of us, they'll see you later tonight in a couple hours, and I'll see you guys next week.